Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk to you about the expanded format. You guys seem to absolutely love it when I do my coverage on the expanded format, and today we're going to break down the impact Paradox Rift has had on the set. Now, we have seen some new archetypes come out in the expanded format. Some of the big sort of decks have kind of changed their ways of plays by adding likes of Roaring Moon and Iron Hands, and some interesting tech cards as well to help around the rest of the metagame. So today we're going to break down what these archetypes are, the meta percentage, and the future of the expanded format. There is a massive over 100 player tournament happening next month, which is honestly so exciting to see, and I will definitely be covering it just before Christmas. So let's break down exactly what's been happening, the impact. But we have seen some new archetypes that kind of like spread around there. Gholdengo is kind of okay, but Roaring Moon has definitely been a little bit of a threat. It gains like the likes of Max Elixir, it gains also the Darkrai GX, which really helps with Darkrai and V-Stars sort of first attack, as well as also the Darkrai EX, which has a free, gives all your Pokemon free retreat if they've got Dark Energy attached to it, which is honestly really exciting. As we know, Regidrago is super strong in the expanded format, so Toadstool is an instant really good tech against it. By adding this into any of your decks, you're limiting and stopping the likes of Regidrago's V-Star ability by getting any of those cards from the discard pile into the hand, which honestly is very strong. Not only does it stop Pokestop and in Superior End Retrieval in the standard format. And Lugia has kind of changed it as well. It's adding likes of Roaring Moon and Iron Hands into the archetype, kind of going away from the Double Dragon tag team sort of build, kind of like focusing more having the Iron Hands to gain multiple prize cards, as well as also Roaring Moon as well. A very different approach in the expanded format. We're seeing two different versions of Lugia after having a year of it being absolutely dominating in just the Dragon build. So right now I'm going to break down and look at the meta percentage from happening in the Firehouse, which is where the big sort of tournament is happening, as well as also talking about the meta percentage, about what this potentially represents. So all of these tournaments have been in the Paradox format. We're seeing Lugia, Roaring Moon, and Miraidon are definitely the most played archetypes in the expanded format. Lugia, like I mentioned, is super strong. Definitely in there, they're focusing more on the Iron Hands and Roaring Moon, so the idea of that, not going with the double turbo, double dragon energy, pretty much instantly winning in like 2 or 3 turns sort of thing. Going to that sort of build, a slower potentially build. I say slower. Roaring Moon and Iron Hands are very fast decks, and you can instantly energy accelerate them. You have special charge constantly, reutilize any of your special energy, so it's very strong. Roaring Moon is another new tech card, real new card that really understand and divulge, and we finally see a dark type being very strong in the expanded format. So I'm honestly super excited for it. And as you know, it's one of my favorite decks right now. Played it at locals and kind of like came 5th, which is very strong, and definitely a very strong place in the standard format, as well as also expanded. Miraidon as well, but Miraidon isn't playing any of the new cards. It's not having likes of Tapu Koko or Iron Hands, which a lot of people may think it does have. It's still very strong with having some of the Regielekis, still strong with the Tapu Koko, Prism Star, and also very strong with the likes of Vikavolt and V to try and like limit your opponent by having an item lock and do a huge amount of damage with electro power. Rest of a format like Palkia, Regidrago, Shadow Rider, and Gholdengo, I want to mention this because it's quite nice to see some newer archetypes kind of going around there. There is still so much to expand. Like, see, that's nearly 40% of other sort of category. These include like sort of Serena, Dragonite, Meloetta. There's so many different versions in the sort of like the other section. So expand is still not refined to an archetype. There's no like guaranteed this is like constantly the best second format. It's always shifting between having Lugia. Shadow Rider was very strong at one point. Also Control, not played as often right now in expanded format. Still trying to figure out how the meta is kind of been progressing. But I'm loving to see this representation. I'm loving that Roaring Moon and Lugia are still doing incredibly strong, and Lugia is slightly changing. So right now I want to talk to you about some of these new archetypes that kind of be around there, and talk to you about the impact of what Paradox Rift has had on this sort of deck list. So we look at Regidrago. Regidrago, like I mentioned, is one of the strongest archetypes. That's why Toadstool is in there. It's limiting its V-Star ability, which is discard 7, and take any cards you like there from your discard pile into your hand. It is so strong. Having multiple different GXs, EXs, and even like VMAXs and dragon types really constantly use them. You can even have some lock sort of effects in there. You can do a huge amount of damage and go through anything. It is absolutely incredibly powerful. Just look at the support account as well. Multiple ways to constantly utilize and bring back your Regidrago turn after turn. Just having Raihan constantly just getting like one of your energies, finding out your double dragon, you can instantly get it powered up very quickly. You also have Gardenia's Vigor. There are so many ways around there to constantly be getting an attack off turn 2. Regidrago is very strong. Not a list which I personally put in the effort on to really understand and divulge much better, but it's incredibly powerful. The ability lock, the huge amount of damage capability it can have, and even having Dialga V's GX's GX attack to potentially gain a turn from that way. It's very aggressive, very fast. Sorry about that. That's why Coach Will is in there trying to slow them down as much as possible. And we've seen it in the likes of Palkia. This is a really interesting deck. Palkia is one of my favorite archetypes in the expanded format, so having Toast Grenade kind of makes a bit of sense. We do have Skyfield, so you have a huge amount of bench space to kind of like deal with, so it's honestly you're okay to add that into it. It's adding into some of your consistency. You're not having likes of Sheehan Power, it's a big late game finisher, but having Skyfield and Muscle Band, you can do a huge amount of damage with the likes of Palkia. You also have Starmie, which is really good in the likes of the Miraidon, and more specifically in the likes of Lugia, which has a ton of energies in there, most specifically like I'm so used to saying double turbo, it's like double colorless, double dragon. So huge amount of damage that Starmie V can really put the pressure on. And the Wally, making sure you can attack as early as turn 1. It's very second, it's very, very scary. Tapu Fini is a really nice tech card as well, and multiple good draw factors in this list. I like seeing Toe Scroll in this one. I like some inclusion of Paradox Drift kind of bleeding into already established, very, very powerful deck to help you in the likes of Versus Drago matchup and other matchups as well. Another one I want to talk about is Lugia. Like I mentioned before, it's adding some of these new cards here. It even won with an Eye Hand and a Roaring Moon. We can see it does have Rainbow Energy, but really focusing more on the Aurora Energy. Aurora Energy is making sure it's like absolutely powerhousing, constantly attacking with the Iron Hands. You can get 2 prize cards with having attacking into the likes of Lugia and Luminions, and also the likes of so as well. You can't really get 2 prizes on the likes of Dedenne, which is a bit annoying because you only max out 140 damage, but definitely something to be considered about. Silent Lab is very strong to kind of like combat the Wobble threat, so you can constantly use your summoning star as early as turn 1, the likes of Wally. Roaring Moon as well, it's a really good late game finisher, instantly KO anything on the opponent's side, and you have multiple Aurora energies, as well as also 3 copies of special charge, so you're constantly utilizing any of these special energies, so you can afford to not run that many. Powerful energy means you can be getting these big KOs with the likes of Archeops as well as Lugia, which honestly is very, very strong. The deck here is very, very consistent, very, very powerful, and we're seeing that this is the main build of how we're playing Lugia. It's honestly in a really, really powerful spot. I know even some people are going back to the old and tried method, having the Garchomp, having the Tina, having even the Naganadel, but also fitting in 1 copy of the likes of Iron Hands and 2 copies of Raw Energy. I honestly find it's a very, very powerful archetype. Lugia is in such a strong shape, and you can see here, they're not even affording to play the likes of the big 4 or Archeopses, because you play Battle Compressor. There's so many ways around the deck. It's honestly just that strong. And even having high counts of Wally, making sure they're really kind of gunning into that I'm using my summoning star as early as turn 1, going second. Lugia hasn't really changed too much. It's still very, very powerful. Now we'll look at these sorts of fun archetypes decks, which are performing pretty well and established versions. Roaring Moon. And you can see here that Roaring Moon becomes so much more aggressive and so much more turbo than the version that we're used to. Having Darkrai V-Star means it can reuse any of the item cards in the late game, getting pretty much having 6 Dark Patches. You can also have 5 VS Seekers, which is very, very strong. Having the likes of that Darkrai MGX, if you don't know its ability, if it's in the discard pile, you can put it onto the bench and attach some Dark Energies as well. So it really powers up the Darkrai GX and V-Star to really get that big attack in a late sort of game. I love this archetype because you can have Protection Cube. Protection Cube pretty much means that you're not doing any damage from yourself from any of your attacks. So you can do French Gouging for no limitations whatsoever. So you're just going, you're knocked out, and I'm absolutely fine. There's not too much tool disruption. Yes, there is a field blow at times and potentially some tool scrapper, but honestly, it's very, very strong having this Protection Cube on. Skyfield, again, you've got to have a massive amount of support Pokemon. You could potentially be attacking as early as turn 1. So much quicker now with having Sada, Max Elixir, and Dark Patch. You're in such a good position as well. And I love the Hypnotoxic Laser as well. Doing that additional 10 more damage, so Calamity Storm can still do that huge big 230 damage and help you in the mirror match somehow. I absolutely love this archetype. It is so strong, so broken, and so just aggressive. I just want to play this in an expanded tournament. This is making me absolutely fall back in love with expanded. Pure, huge, aggressive dark decks, which is what's always been used to, having the likes of Darkrai and Yveltal, seeing the likes of it in Roy Moon just brings back so many fun nostalgia from playing expanded regionals about 8 years ago. Another one I want to touch on is Gardevoir. And Gardevoir gains a little bit of stuff. It's not played as often because it is still that stage 2. And by the time you've got everything set up, you might have lost the game because it's so much big basic EX V-Stars format right now. But Gardevoir does have quite a few things. You can see here, we're playing a 4-4-6 line of Gardevoir. Now, what are those 2 other Gardevoirs there? Well, they were actually released in Next Destinies. And I remember this because I got so many of these cards when I was collecting and just learning how to play the game. They like to, all your psychic energies are 2 psychic energies. Think of it like Charizard from the Pokemon Go set. So all of a sudden, your Gardevoir with 6 energies effectively has 12 energies. So you're doing a huge amount of damage with your Gardevoir, which is honestly incredible. You have Wobbuffet to help slow down your opponent in the early game. You even have Scream Tail in this list as well. So you have a huge amount of bench sniping damage it has capable to it. This list here is very, very blinged out. Honestly, I absolutely love it. I think having the Evolution Incense really helps you get any of your evolved Pokemon. Also, Mysterious Treasure as well in any of your psychic techs. Everything is just pure psychic. You still have Tapu Lele for your draw support. You have Mew to help you with your what's it called, your bench protection, and Wobbuffet to slow down your opponent. The supporters are very, very nice. Parallel City is super, super strong. And even having the likes of the additional 60 more damage with the likes of Scream Tail, it's very, very nice as well. I think it's absolutely incredible tech card. This list here is very, very strong. Potentially could be the way how we're playing Gardevoir in the expanded format. And honestly, it is just that strong, and I absolutely love the creativity. And to finish off, Gholdengo actually did the best position actually did get was top 16. It's just fun to have a look at it. Does play the Starmie, which actually wouldn't work on the likes of Toedscroll. Its ability is the Scarlet card and get 2 basic energies from your discard pile, put them into your hand. It's just another sort of way to do a huge amount of damage. You do play a 3-4 line of Gholdengo because you're not going to be attacking a lot of time. But as we're seeing, that Iron Hands is very, very strong and in a huge amount of them big powerful archetypes right now. I don't think Gholdengo has really found its place in the expanded format. So just looking ahead in the expanded format, we have a huge expanded tournament happening on between the 14th and 16th of December. A link to that will be actually in the description if you want to learn a bit more about it. It is an in-person tournament, I believe, and it's one of the biggest expanded events we have seen in years, especially on the Western side. As we know, at the beginning of the year, we did have that big tournament over there in Japan, which is where Lugia's sort of dragons really became a solidified archetype. But could the new deck actually win? Could the different version of Lugia win? Could Roy Moon perform incredibly well? Or could we see the likes of Palkia, which has been performing incredibly well in that sort of area? Is Lugia still considered the BDIF with control as well as a second option? Potentially. We haven't seen control at all in the last couple of tournaments to perform as well as we know it can do. But honestly, it is in such a good position still. Having Roy Moon, having like some Iron Hands, it really gives us some good news attacking options as well. So not just really gunning into that GTN for constant in the game. And lastly, let's talk about Roy Moon. Is it actually a threat in the expanded format? The answer is yes. We've seen it's been performing pretty well overall. We've been having quite a few top 4 placements. It's kind of like a lot of people are playing the Roy Moon archetype. It's very, very strong and makes it, you can use Frenzy Gouge, you have no repercussions. You can instantly power up so much often. You have really good backup attackers as well. So even Darkrai V-Star becomes such a threat to really get these big one-hit KOs. So honestly, this could be the most excited I felt for expanded format. There are so many new archetypes and it feels so much more like a fresh coat of paint in so many different decks. That's why I'm absolutely loving the Paradox Rift format. It's so much has changed, but also it all feels the same as well. So that's why I think Paradox Rift could be one of the most impactful sets we have seen in such a long time. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and enjoy LAIC if you are there or in fact watching it. I'm so excited for this tournament, seeing Paradox Rift and kind of seeing what potentially could be a new BDIF, or even just seeing what new archetypes can kind of emerge from it. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget, next month I will be covering the expanded tournament happening in mid-December, just before I go on break for Christmas. So I will see you all then and see you in a couple of days' time for looking ahead. Bye for now.